Hey Cardano, this is the long-awaited tutorial for using the DEX features in the P2P-DeFi wallet. I'm going to assume you've already watched the How to Make DeFi Order Books Work video. If you haven't, you should seriously check it out because things will make a lot more sense after that. I'll leave a link to the video in the description. I've patched a few bugs since the previous tutorial video, so to get the latest fixes, go to the git clones directory from the installation instructions and go inside the P2P wallet. Then open a terminal. You can right click and open in terminal. So what you want to do is git checkout main, and then you want to do git pull to get the latest commits. So I've already done this, but you should actually get something when you execute this command. Then you want to do cabal update. And then when that's done, you want to do cabal build. So the build step this time should be much faster because you don't have to rebuild any of the dependencies. It only took like 3 to 5 minutes, I think, for me. For me, I think it's already built. Yeah. So then once it's built, you can execute this command. Extend that a bit. If you execute this command, it will move the newly created executable to your home directory. It's going to replace the one that we installed with the instructions tutorial. It takes a second because this internal command is a little bit slow. And now when you go to your home, this P2P wallet executable should be the one that has the bug fixes. With that out of the way, let's launch the wallet. Go to Testnet. I've set up a few profiles because I'm going to pretend to be different people since it will help explain the different concepts. We are going to start with Alice. Before we get started with the DEX, I want to show how to get test ADA for using the testnet. I meant to show this in the basics video, but I forgot. So I have two addresses already set up for Alice here, but one of them doesn't have any ADA. To get ADA, you just need to go to the Cardano testnet Faucet. I'm going to leave a link to the faucet in the video's description. So you're going to come down here. For the environment, you're going to choose the pre-production testnet. You're going to receive test data, and you need to paste in your address. So I can come back over here and click on the blue label to copy this address. And then just paste it in. I used Control-V to paste it in. You want to prove you're not a robot, and then request funds. And it says success. This is the transaction hash to expect. When you're done with the test ADA, you should return it to the pre-production faucet address. That way other people can use it. Make sure you only return ADA to this address. Don't return any native tokens. So if you create test tokens, make sure you burn them first. If we go back here, we just have to wait for the ADA to come. Remember, you have to manually resync. It doesn't automatically resync after every 5 minutes or so. And now we have 10,000 ADA in this address. To return the ADA, you just need to send the 10,000 ADA to that address in a transaction. It's just like any other where you're paying somebody ADA. For this video, I've configured a few tickers. These tickers do not correspond to the real tokens, although we're going to pretend that they do. I just gave the test tokens familiar names to make explaining the concept easier. So there's AGIX, JED, USDM, and World Mobile Token. JED and USDM we're going to pretend are actual stablecoins. Okay, let's actually start with the DEX. So when you first go to the page, it will tell you you need to add a new DEX wallet. So underneath me is an Add Wallet button. Clicking that will bring up this menu. You can pick from any of your tracked staking credentials. This credential will be used to protect your open positions. I'll add the first one, the personal one stake, and click confirm. When you select a wallet, the app will check to see if the credential already has any open positions. So as you can see, this one does, and the notifications tells you that there's some information about the swaps. We'll cover this later. For now though, let's add a second wallet. So we'll go to the More and click Add Wallet. And this time, this is the only other staking credential that's available because we're already using Personal One Stake, and there's only 2 tracked staking credentials. If you want to use a different one, you're going to have to add it through the staking page first. So we'll add this one. And again, it's going to check to see if it has any open positions. So this one does not have any open positions. You can easily switch between your chosen staking credentials for the DEX by just clicking this drop down. The staking credentials are an easy way to stay organized and to use different keys to protect different positions. By the way, the name of the DEX wallet, so it appears here in this drop down, matches what you see for the staking. If you want to change its name, you must change the name of the associated staking credential from the staking page. All DeFi wallets use the same name as the staking credential on the staking page. This helps simplify things. So this is effectively your Personal One staking credential. This is Personal Two staking credential. Let's check out the order book. So go to Trade and enter the trading pair that you are interested in. The asset on the left is the one you have and wish to convert. The asset on the right is the asset you want in exchange. I have some AGIX, so let's do AGIX to World Mobile Token and click Confirm. On lower resolution screens, the order book doesn't fit entirely in the window, but you can just scroll. So on the left side is the order book. All units are denominated in the asset you set as desired, which in this case is World Mobile Token. So you can see the asks are selling World Mobile Token. These are the quantities for sale. And the bids are trying to buy World Mobile Token, these quantities. And then the prices themselves are also denominated in World Mobile Token. The asks and bids use the same units. Between the asks and the bids is the spread, which is currently 0.04 AGIX per World Mobile Token. And on the right, you see 2 buttons. The outer button is the button to resync this order book. Clicking that will resync it. It only resyncs this specific order book. It doesn't resync anything else like your wallets. The button to the left of it is the invert order book button. By definition, if a limit order is selling an asset, it's also buying another asset. So you can switch between the units by clicking this button. This is probably the first major difference you'll encounter between a DeFi order book and a TradFi order book. In TradFi, the order books are always denominated in some dominant currency, like US dollar or the euro. But in this trading pair, which one should be dominant? There's no right answer, which is why I left it up to you. You can just convert between the two. Last thing I want to cover right now is the pagination buttons. Ideally, you would be able to scroll up the order book to see more expensive orders, but the Haskell GUI library I'm using doesn't make this easy. So as a workaround for this prototype, you can use these pagination buttons to move up the order book. The hand icon is how you execute a specific order, but I will cover that separately in a bit. For now, let's just look at the right side. You can see the selected trading pair on top. It flips when you invert the order book. Below it is the order creation menu. You can choose between a limit order and a liquidity swap. For now, let's create a limit order. As I've said before, I have AGIX and I want World Mobile Token. So I'm going to buy World Mobile Token. Specify how much AGIX you want to sell. I want to sell 30 AGIX. Then choose a limit price. The units you specify must match the units shown in the order book. You can invert the prices if you want to use the inversion, use the other asset as the dominant asset. Just note that inverting it resets the menu. 30. I will set the price to 1.4. It should be here in the bids. If you've seen my DeFi order books video, then the arbitrage fees should sound familiar. I'll come back to this for now. I'm going to leave it as 0% for this order. And then I'm going to create the limit order. Since all UTxOs on Cardano must be stored with a minimum amount of ADA, this pop-up tells you how much ADA is required. You will get this ADA back when you close the position. If you go to the transaction builder, you can now see the new limit order that will be created. It's going to use the staking credential you had selected here at the time that the order was created. This hovering over this person's icon tells you which staking credential will be used. This is going to create a limit order with a position size of 30 AGIX. It wants to buy World Mobile Token at a price of 1.4 AGIX per World Mobile Token, and it's not using an arbitrage fee. You can edit the order. From this menu, you can't change the units, so you have to use the ones you already set when creating the order book. This whole thing, all of the units here are using the units from when you created the order. You can increase the count, or you can remove it from the builder. Okay, going back to the order book, the limit order will sit until the price comes to me, but I would also like to convert some of the AGIX to World Mobile Token right now. The current lowest ask is 1.49 AGIX per World Mobile Token. If you did watch the How to Make DeFi Order Books Work video, then you should remember the two possible options here. Option 1 was to compete to swap with this UTxO directly, and option 2 was to hire a bot. For option 1, you can click the hand icon and then specify the amount. You can see the amount that's available here, 35 World Mobile Token. So specify the amount you want to purchase. I'll say 20, and the cost is going to be 29.8 AGIX. Then you would click confirm. You may encounter this message that says the swap min UTxO value increased a little bit. Here it's 0.19 ADA. Unfortunately, this will happen sometimes since the swap UTxO can grow in size when you execute against it. Since you will need to cover this, you should factor this into your cost. You can edit it from the builder or you can remove it from the builder if you change your mind. There may be ways to minimize how often you encounter this, but it requires some standardization. You can see the execution here. If someone beats you to the swap, your entire transaction will fail. That means everything else in your cart will also fail. In the early days, this may not be an issue. As far as I know, there are currently 0 bots scanning Cardano swaps. I would personally like to create one, but I haven't had the time. So for now, feel free to try your luck with executing the swap directly. But in the future, you will likely need to hire a bot to compete on your behalf. So let me remove the swap from the swap execution from the builder and show you how to hire a bot. Hiring a bot is really easy to do. So again, I want this 1.49 AGIX per World Mobile Token. You're going to go to the order creation and you're going to specify exactly that. I want to buy World Mobile Token. I want to exchange about 30 AGIX. The limit price I want is 1.49. And now I'm going to set the arbitrage fee. The wallet will move the new limit price up by the arbitrage fee you set so that the overlap will be exactly the amount you specify. If you wanted to sell World Mobile Token, then the arbitrage fee will move the price down by that amount. For this, it is very important that you factor in volatility. If the price typically fluctuates 0.5% within an hour, setting your overlap to be less than this can result in the overlap being eliminated before your order is filled. But if it fluctuates up by 0.5%, it can also fluctuate back down by 0.5%. It is up to you. You can take your chances or pay up to prevent the natural volatility from interfering with your order. For this example, I will set it to be 2%, which moves this up by 2% to be about 1.52 ADA, which should be around here. I want to stress how easy it is. You specify the amount you want to exchange, the limit price you want matched against your order, so it's the exact price you're asking for, and then the arbitrage fee will adjust it as needed to actually hire the bot. Then you just click Create Limit Order. This will require this deposit, which you will get back when you close the order, either before or after it is filled. And now you can see the limit order here being created for personal to stake. I'm buying World Mobile Token at 1.49 AGIX per World Mobile Token, and I'm using an arbitrage fee of 2%. Again, you can edit it increase the count or remove it from the builder. There is one more thing I want to do before submitting this transaction, and that is show you how to create a liquidity swap. Let's go back to the order book. To change the trading pair, you want to click on the trading pair here above the order creation menu. I want to create a liquidity swap for USDM to JED. There will likely be a lot of demand for making stablecoins fungible, so I would like to create a liquidity swap to possibly profit from that demand. Here, since liquidity swap can go in either direction, it doesn't matter which direction you use. The order books you have synced are cached, meaning they're saved, so you can quickly switch between them if necessary. If we go back to AGIX to our mobile token, you don't need to resync it, but you can manually resync it by clicking the button. So going back to the stablecoin pair, to create the liquidity swap, you just click liquidity swap, and then you just need to fill out this information here. What will the starting balances for each asset be? What will your conversion prices be? Make sure the units that you use here match the units in the order book. If you want to view it the other way, just invert the order book. For this, I want to maximize the number of transactions that can use my liquidity, so I don't want all of the liquidity to be in one UTXO. I'm going to specify the terms for one liquidity swap, and then in the builder, I'm going to create 4 copies of it. So the transaction will create 4 liquidity swaps, each with the terms and starting balances that I set here in the menu. I'll do 150 USDM and 150 JED. Selling JED, I will require 1.03. Buying JED, I will require 0.97. If you prefer one stablecoin over another, you can set your rates to favor one side. For example, if you prefer JED, you can make it cheaper for users to deposit JED into your swap than to take JED. This is also a really good way to use liquidity swaps for volatile trading pairs. For example, if you want to create a liquidity swap for ADA to AGIX, where you prefer ADA, you can make it cheaper to deposit ADA into the swap than to take it. It is entirely up to you how you configure your prices. Please note, though, that market movements can result in your swap being entirely converted to one side. For example, if the USDM stablecoin peg breaks and it becomes way less valuable, the price could easily move to 0.5 JED per USDM. The liquidity swap that you create here will then entirely be converted to USDM, since you are effectively offering a huge discount on JED. This will result in a net loss for you. You're going to need to actively manage your liquidity swaps to update the prices when necessary. While stablecoin breaks are rare, the same reasoning applies to liquidity swaps for volatile trading pairs. You should make sure to factor these risks into your prices. Let's create the liquidity swap. This one also requires a deposit. And now in the builder, you can see that Personal Stake 2 is creating a new liquidity swap. And it uses the prices and units that were there when you created the order from the order book page. Here, you're selling JED, buying JED prices, selling JED price, buy JED price. You can edit it, and here we are going to create 4 copies of it. Now in the required change, since we increased the count, we need 600 JED and 600 USDM. And then you also need the 60 AGIX for the 2 limit orders. I'm now going to balance this transaction and submit it. Cardano swaps is not impacted by the hardware wallet bug mentioned in the P2P wallet README, so I can use a hardware wallet to manage my DEX positions. So I'm going to go to here. I need to find UTxOs that have USDN. This one actually has 1000 JED, 200 AGIX, and 1000 USDM. So this one's actually great. It should have fully balanced the transaction. Yep. So now I need to reset that because I need collateral. And then I want to specify a change address. I'll just use the first one here. And I can now build and submit this transaction. The total transaction fee is 0.62 ADA. So I'm creating 6 limit orders, or 2 limit orders and 4 liquidity swaps, so 6 swaps. And the total transaction fee is 0.62 ADA. And then sign and submit. It's waiting on my hardware wallet now. It takes a while to go through all of the outputs on the hardware device. I'm using a ledger right now. Hardware wallets are not really designed for such complicated transactions like this. Okay, it's done. And this is the transaction hash. While we wait for the transaction to be added to the blockchain, there are 2 things I want to mention. The first is something you'll encounter when ADA is part of a trading pair. For example, if we go to World Mobile Token to ADA, so here the asks are selling ADA. What happens if you try to buy all of the ADA from a particular swap? We could do that where if we click swap, try to purchase all of it and click confirm. The wallet says that the swap requires a deposit, the minimum UTxO value, so the actual amount of ADA available is this. So as you can see, you can't actually take all of the available ADA. Instead, when you see this, you can highlight it and press Control-C, and then paste it in. This time when you click confirm, it works. It would be really bad if the order book showed swaps that don't actually have any ADA available to take, so the order book only shows swaps with at least 5 ADA available. This allows all shown swaps to at least allow taking 2 ADA. As a consequence of this, the wallet will notify you that a swap is fully converted if it contains less than 5 ADA. This only applies to trading pairs involving ADA. You'll see what I mean when we go to the open positions. The second thing to mention is that currently the order book does not group swaps of the same price together. You can see an example of that here. These both have the same price, but they're not grouped together. This was just the simplest way to create the prototype. They could be grouped together in a way where you could see the entire amount available at a given price and how many UTxOs are available at that price. In other words, there's a lot of flexibility in how to display and interact with the order book. If you have some ideas, please leave a comment. I have some of my own thoughts on it, but I want to hear what potential users think. How would you want this to be shown to you? The transaction should have been processed by now, so let's sync the wallets. Now we have notifications, and it says that for personal stake 2, some swap statuses have changed. And as you'll see, for personal 1 stake, some of them have been fully converted. And you can see that some of the assets were spent from the home personal 1. So if we go to the DEX again, go to open positions, we can now see the 6 orders that were just created in that transaction. The 4 liquidity swaps with the exact same terms, and then you have the limit order. This is the arbitrage one where the price is 1.52, and this is the other one that was the normal limit order with the price of 1.4. If we go to the position history, this is the transaction that we just did with 6 swaps created. This is the timestamp. We can inspect it, and you can see a summary of the swaps that happened in this transaction. So in the outputs, these 6 swaps were created, and that's exactly what we see in our positions. If we go to trade, just to see what the arbitrage fee did, AGIX to World Mobile Token. We have to resync it. The spread is now negative, so the arbitrage fee did work, and now there's an incentive for a bot to match the bid for 1.52 with the ask for 1.49. Let's switch to personal 1 stake because it has a more interesting DEX portfolio. As you can see, the wallet marks swaps as fully converted, and some of them here still have ADA, but it's below the 5 ADA threshold. Others have actually been fully converted. Like there's no more of the World Mobile token here. You can see the amount that it was converted to down here. And so some of them are still open. You can do a quick filter of all of them that are fully open, those that are fully converted, or either, the default is either. You can edit the swap here or close it. That added it to the builder. And then you can also filter. You can filter by offer and or ask. So if you specify both of them, then it will filter for that specific trading pair. So for example, if we did just ADA, it'll do all trading pairs that involve ADA, which, so you have ADA and WMT, ADA and AGIX. And then if we did a different one, like we actually search for specifically this trading pair, it's ADA and WMT exclusively. And it also does do that direction. If we went the other way, WMT to ADA, it should show different limit orders. Yeah, WMT to ADA. Looking a little bit closer at each individual position, it says whether it's a liquidity swap or a limit order. This is the UTxOs output reference, and you can click it to copy to the clipboard. Hovering over the clock will show the timestamp for the UTxO. This is effectively the last time this UTxO was touched. And then you can actually sort. By default, it's sorting the UTxOs chronologically by the timestamp. But you also have other options here. There's a help message to explain. You can sort based off of the balance of the offer asset, balance of the ask asset, or based off of the limit price. And then it explains the conditions for the latter three options. So reset, so you see all of them. I almost forgot to mention these prices here. For liquidity swap, it shows both possible units. So on the left is one of the versions where you're selling ADA and buying ADA. On the right side is the exact same prices, just using the other asset as the denominator. Then for limit orders, since selling one asset is technically the same as buying another, it shows both prices, which are equivalent. When we go to the position history, in this one, I actually haven't used this one recently. So let's just go back to the beginning of time and confirm. And now you can see all of the transactions involving this staking credentials swaps. And you can see that it says like one swap was closed here, here one swap was closed and one swap was created. When you update a swap, technically that means you closed a swap and created a new one. So that might have been what happened here and here, 2 to 2. Then you can also see 2 swaps were executed. The position history is only the history for your positions. If you execute somebody else's swap, that will not appear here. So what this means is that somebody else executed my swap. And I can see exactly what happened. This was the starting state for the swaps that they executed. And this is the ending state for those swaps. And you can also search for a specific trading pair or ask or offer asset. So if I did just ADA, actually most of these are probably using ADA. So if I did WMT, so now it's showing only transactions that involve a trading pair with WMT. So you can search for a specific trading pair or only ask, only offer, it's up to you. The wallet will keep warning you about fully converted swaps until you actually close them. So if we refresh the wallets again, wait for it to sync, the notifications will tell us again that Personal One Stake has some fully converted swaps. Personal One Stake has some fully converted swaps. You need to actually close them for that to stop. That pretty much covered the basics, but the real power of this order book is its composability with other dApps. I really cannot stress enough that DeFi dApps should not be treated as standalone applications. They should be designed to act together. These compositions provide opportunities that just don't exist on other blockchains, let alone in TradFi. As an example, it enables making stablecoins fungible. Imagine if you could repay a loan in JED using USDM. This is 100% possible if you compose the dApps. I'll prove it to you by showing you how. Let me switch to Bob. I even changed my shirt to help get into character. Bob has an open loan in JED and a payment deadline coming up in 2 days. He also wants to buy an options contract whose premium must be paid in JED. Unfortunately, Bob doesn't actually have any JED. If we search for it in his address, there's nothing here. He only has USDM. Luckily for Bob, these other dApps are composable with the order book. He can purchase the options terms that he wants. I'm not going to go too much in depth with this because the options dApp will get its own tutorial, but writers of options contracts can offer an assortment of possible terms, and the buyer can pick which terms they wish. So a row here is the term. So the top row would be a premium of 3.5, a price of 1.1 JED per ADA, and then this is the expiration date. Bob would like to use this 5.5 premium, so the middle collection of terms. And I'm not going to cover this too much in detail, but the premium payment requires also a minimum UTxO that will have to be covered by Bob, so this should be factored into the cost as well. Let's now make a loan payment on Bob's loan. We'll make a payment of 5 JED, and we will also reclaim 5 ADA from the collateral since some of the ADA collateral has now been unlocked. And click confirm. And the remaining ADA covers the minimum UTxO, so that's good. The loan payment is not in ADA though, so there is a required minimum UTxO for the payment. Again, I'm not going to cover this too much in detail, but this minimum UTxO should incentivize you to make as infrequent payments as possible, just so you don't incur a lot of these min UTxO costs. Now in the builder, we can see the partial loan payment for 5 JED. We can see we're also purchasing the options contract, and we can switch terms if we wanted the other one by just clicking on the row, and it'll tell us the new stuff. I want the middle row right now though. And if we go to the change, what's required, it says we're missing 10.5 JED. Let's go to the order book now, and we will trade. We have USDM, but we need JED. And these are the current asks where I can buy JED. Since we need this conversion ASAP, we should choose a more expensive limit order. The more you pay up, the less competition you'll face for that swap. For this, let's do the top 1.03. We could choose a more expensive one, like we could do the 1.05 if we wanted to. But we'll stick with the 1.03 for now. Then we only need 10.5 JED. The total cost is 10.82 USDM. So we pay a slight premium to get this now. And the minimum UTxO value for the swap increased, so we'll have to cover that. That'll have to be factored into the cost. And if we go to the builder though, and we go to the change, it now says we're good on JED, but we're missing USDM. Bob does have USDM, so he can easily now balance the transaction. Go to the UTxOs, search for USDM, and here he's got 400, 500. And now we just need to do collateral and change address. Collateral and change. And now we can build the transaction. And this composition only requires 1.2 ADA. Let's sign and submit the transaction now. Unfortunately, the hardware wallet bug mentioned in the P2P wallet README does impact options and loans. So Bob needs to use his cold keys in order to sign this transaction. So we'll export this transaction. And now we'll have to sign the transaction from the terminal. From the terminal, we are just going to execute this command. Cardano CLI Conway transaction sign. We got the body file that was exported. This is the personal payment key that needs to sign for the collateral and the change. And this is the staking key that's Bob is using to protect his loan. And then we are going to output it to the TX directory with tx.signed name. Just hit enter. Now back in the wallet, we're gonna submit the external transaction. It's underneath me. And we specify the name of the actual file, the absolute path. You could use the shortcuts. And this is the transaction hash where Bob used USDM as if it was JET. That concludes this tutorial. It was a little long, but there was a lot to cover. With how cheap it is to build and submit compositions yourself, we really need to start questioning why batchers and aggregators are so pervasive. Anyway, I hope you like this tutorial. I'm going to skip the loans one and do options next since it should be simpler. I'll circle back to loans after.